Steve Alley, 1023 ESPN MMA Meltdown welcomes Pat H.D. Berry, who will fight at UFC 161 on Saturday evening. Pat, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule. How are things going for you?
Things are going pretty cool, man. It's been great being here in Winnipeg since we landed. Everybody's been pretty cool, man. The training's been excellent, and just ready to go.
First time in Winnipeg, Manitoba ever for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and you compete at 161, UFC 161, against Sean Jordan. I know that with the media and everyone that has blasted questions at you, we'll ask some of those and hopefully get away from the normal stuff. You're both pretty evenly matched up, and I know that both of you are looking to extend your winning streaks to 2 for the first time. And how do you feel about that? You fought the UFC quite a bit, and I consider you in the heavyweight division to be one of the more exciting fighters in there. Your thoughts on your opponent and where this fight takes you from here?
The fight against Sean Jordan, I think, is going to be, like I said, it's the kind of fight that I would like to see, personally. We're both short, stocky guys. We're both as wide as we are tall. He's a heavy hitter. I'm an extremely heavy hitter. We both are knockout, we go for finishes. Sean doesn't necessarily look like he's the kind of guy who wants to fight for 15 minutes and fight the distance, and neither do I. I personally wouldn't like it. I don't want it to go out of round 1. If I can get in there and throw one punch and then end the fight, that's my goal all the time.
Pat, I've always enjoyed and loved your leg kicks. I think in the heavyweight division, I would give you the compliment to say that as far as leg kicks go, probably at the top of the list as UFC fighter, MMA fighters. Could you expound on where you picked up that skill and how it developed, because I think it's one of the better that we'll see in this weight class?
Oh, man, it all started watching Tong Po in, what was that, UFC, 6 or something, when Marco Huas low-kicked Paul Voorhees or Paul Varlin.
Paul Varlin, that's right.
Paul Varlin, yeah, and he low-kicked him for 30 minutes, and eventually, the big guy falls down from the little guy's kick to the leg. That's where it all started, man, and honestly, the reason why they've gotten to the point that they are is because they were defended so well in the beginning. I got good at throwing low kicks from getting them blocked.
Hey, I read your bio, and I'm pretty sure that I am right about this. Did you fight in the World Combat League?
Yep, I had 4 fights there.
That's what I thought. Tom Johnson and myself have something in common with you because we were part of the Denver Fury team of the World Combat League, and I noticed on your bio that was a premier striking league, and then you went to mixed martial arts. You've done a fine job there. On this fight card, it's interesting to note that on Saturday night you'll be featured on one of what I would consider one of the heavier fight cards, and you're going to fight somewhere around 230, 235. Do you walk around at that weight? Do you cut at all, or is that just natural for you?
I walk around at 250, and by the time fight time comes around, I'm usually around 240, 245.
And you've had about 6 months off. How do you feel about getting back in? And more importantly, with the fight on Saturday night, you start your 5th year in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Your thoughts on that?
That's cool, man. I had no idea. Honestly, I had no idea it had been that long. That's kind of weird to hear. The 5th year, man. But yeah.
Hey, Pat, we try to do our homework on people we like.
I personally have never had a problem with taking time off and then fighting. Everyone's like, oh, you're gonna have ring rust. No, if I haven't been in a fight in a while, once I come back and actually do it, then I don't really notice. I've never been one for noticing time off in a fight. So I think I'll still be on point, definitely.
What are things like in Manitoba you fight in Canada there for the first time in the Ultimate Fighting Championship and them being there. What is the difference between maybe fighting in the United States versus there, or is there really any?
You know what? Like, everybody, I mean, I'm sure the different places that you go, whether you fight in Brazil, you fight in Russia, you fight in China, you fight in, like Houston, Texas, I'm sure that the different places that you go, like, a lot of people feel that there's differences there and the different crowds and whatnot, and it's true. There will be, like, differences here and there, like, in the city that you're in, but really, once the fight starts, it's all the same. It doesn't matter where you are. Once the fight begins, it's like you're in a fight. Like, you don't really notice. You don't notice it until the fight's over with. You know, once you feel the crowd, you hear the crowd chanting. But I mean, if you're prepared, ultimately prepared for a fight, if you are absolutely prepared for a fight, then once the bell rings, you don't notice anything else except the other guy standing across from you. But everyone here has been extremely friendly. Been recognized a few times, like walking around like the city, and it's been cool, man.
What do you do to prepare up for a fight like this? How long does that process? You know, you have the contract negotiations with the Ultimate Fighting Championship, everything signed, sealed, and delivered. What do you do then, even prior or after that contract is in place for training? Do you look at fight tape on your opponent, investigate what their traits are, and that kind of thing?
You know what? A lot of people do, and it's different for everybody. But there are a lot of people who, you know, they watch fight tape, they study their opponent, this and that. But just like the school of thought that I come from is, and the way that I've always gone is, that's usually what my coaches do. My coaches study my opponent. They come up with a game plan. Like, they're the ones that prepare that, and then I come and I'm always training for the worst case scenario. And that's always that. I'm always training for the zombie who won't die. Like, that's what I'm always getting ready for. If every time you step into the octagon, you're ready for Mike Tyson to be standing across from you, then you should be ready for anybody.
How is your wind at this point? I mean, I know that going into any UFC fight, everyone wants to have that cardio. I believe that that's a huge part of fighting. I'd like to get your thought on that, it being in the heavyweight division.
Oh, that's a major part. I remember Russell Jones, my very first coach. Russell Jones himself said, and this is a quote from him, this is way back when I was 23 years old, saying, "Whoever can last the longest is most likely going to win." And you know, that's been a fact. That's been a big factor in my fight career. Whoever can last the longest is most likely going to win. And if you can't last long, then you better finish them in 2 minutes. And that's dictated my entire career. I tell it to anybody when I teach a seminar, when I teach a class. It doesn't matter if I'm around talking to people about fighting. It's getting tired in a fight is your worst nightmare. There's nothing more that your worst nightmare is getting tired in the ring, because that's what leads to everything else. And more than anything else, getting tired in a fight is the number one thing that causes you to quit, and that's worse than getting knocked out.
Yeah, I've got a motto: if you cannot throw, you cannot go. So your points are well taken. Our special guest right here on 102.3 ESPN, Pat H.D. Berry, who will fight in the Ultimate Fighting Championship's 161st event, and they are in Winnipeg, Manitoba for the first time ever. Pat, here's a weird one. You're from Louisiana, yet you will face a former LSU fullback. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, man, I think that's going to be cool. That's going to be cool because, I mean, we somewhat speak the same language. I've been knowing Sean for a while now. I mean, we've never had a summer party or anything like that, but we've been knowing each other for quite some time. We laugh and joke. We get along great, man. The dude is all around. He's all around. He's a great guy, man. So I think it'll be kind of cool for us to, like, have a little bit of a Cajun conversation in the middle of the ring and see who can get caught by the referee first.
Now, you mentioned your training regimen and who you train with, and it's up to your coach. In your bio, you reference Grudge Training Center and Trevor Whitman. How is that going?
Oh, that's been one of the best decisions that I've ever made. Like, when it comes to my fight career, Like Trevor, especially at where I'm at right now in my career, especially where I'm at right now in my fighting, like in how I've done, like where I'm going. Like Trevor Whitman is the man. Trevor Whitman and Jacob Ramos. These guys are just they're like I said, the best decision that I've made.
Yeah, we're here in Denver, and I've known Trevor for years, and he has trained world-class boxers, and he's done great work with the stand-up aspects of many of the fighters fighting out of Greg Jackson's MMA in Albuquerque. Does the striking and stand-up and footwork improve as a result of your training with Grudge and Trevor Whitman and Jake Ramos?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because what it is that as I got into MMA, while getting into MMA, I kind of focused so much on my weaknesses. I focused on wrestling and jiu-jitsu, like mainly, and that was it. I wasn't doing anything else. Like that's all I was doing. And by doing that, I shied away from my striking, and that kind of went downhill a little bit. It just kind of disappeared a little bit. It's not, yeah, man, you're already a badass kickboxer. You don't have to worry about that. It's like, of course you do. Of course, you absolutely have to. You can never stop worrying about that. You can never stop. You never can stop getting better at that. So you have to fine tune it all the time. So it's been spectacular to be able to get back to my roots.
Well, let's paint the picture for everyone then. On Saturday night, Sean Jordan, you get the victory. Paint the ideal picture for you, Pat Barry, as a result of a victory on Saturday night. Where do you hope to go from here in the Ultimate Fighting Championship?
Well, you know what? I've been in the UFC for, like you said, almost 5 years now. And honestly, it wasn't until recently, it wasn't until this year that I actually considered that it's a possibility that I could become the champ. I always figured, I'll be in it. I'll be in the UFC. I'll fight a little bit. I'll knock some people out, and then everything will be fine from there. I'll just go from there. But I've been, Trevor, Greg, Jake, they've pretty much convinced me that I actually can do this. So where the step is after finishing Sean, where will the step be is just up the ladder, man. You can't get to the top of the ladder unless you climb up, so that's the goal.
Very good. Well, hey, we wish you the very best in all that you do. Appreciate the time here this morning that you've given us, and you fight Saturday night at UFC 161, Pat Barry. Wish you the very best, and we'll talk to you down the road again. Thank you.
All right, cool, man. Thank you.
This call has been recorded.